Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's luncheon. We're thrilled to have with us Dr. Brent Coop, a seasoned engineer, consultant, and innovator with more than 25 years of experience at the intersection of data, strategy, and technology. Over the course of his career, Dr. Coop has led and delivered over 100 consulting projects, helping organizations optimize their processes and unlock the full potential of their data. As the founder of SureLink AI, he now focuses on integrating advanced AI solutions that enhance productivity, streamline operations, and drive innovation. Known for making complex topics both accessible and actionable, Brent brings a wealth of knowledge and a practical approach to AI that organizations can start applying right away. Please join me in welcoming Brent Coop.
Well, I really appreciate everyone coming today. I think we're going to have a lot of fun talking about AI. Just so I know and how I can either delve into topics more deeply or not, who is an expert with AI? One? Got one? All right. Who is pretty good at it, that uses it on a daily basis? There you go. And now who is a complete newbie, not sure about it? Who's downright scared of it? I'm scared of it too. All right, let's talk over this. I'm gonna give information about how you can practically use AI, and then I want to share some of the tips of what we're doing with SureLink AI, and how we're using it a little bit differently and a little bit more secure. Oh, sorry, go over that. If you guys use that QR code, you can get to the slides. You can also email me, and I'll send them to you. Okay, a little bit about me. I used to breeze through this all the time, and then people were like, who are you again at the end of the presentation? I found that was not very good. So a little bit about me. I've got 25 years of engineering and consulting experience. I mostly have worked with Native American tribes after I got my doctorate. So I work with tribal governments primarily. I also work with water departments and other small businesses. Licensed professional engineer, and then I have a focus in groundwater engineering. So here's a picture background of me. 20 years ago, I was in heavy civil. That's a rough industry. If you've ever been in it, you move every 2 years, and it's chaos management. So I went into design and build rock climbing gyms, which was kind of fun. That was a great job, but it was also chaos management. Maybe even more chaos management because we hired rock climbers. That was one. It was a little bit nuts. So, and then I got a PhD, and then I went to a company in town here called Natural Resources Consulting Engineers. So I worked for 10 years there. I started in the corner as an intern with the boxes, and then worked up to a senior engineer there. I decided that I wanted to be more innovative, and then so 5 years ago, I started a company called Momentum Engineering. That's what's paying the bills for SureLink AI right now. Those are kind of sister companies. And we have several contracts under Momentum Engineering where we're applying SureLink AI. So I still own Momentum Engineering, but I founded SureLink AI. We'll talk about this, but we do AI planning and policy, data organization. We have knowledge access apps that we're developing and implementing. We have template integration, so we have AI fill out templates, and it looks like your document. AI training and support and maintenance. All right, so here's the big question. And, so I was thinking about this. I was presenting this to a group of grant writers and then a group of tribal professionals. And I just was, why do I use AI? Because it doesn't give you a finished product. But what I think it does really well are at least three things. One is it does the busy work of writing. And we've all sat there with a blank page in front of us, right? What do? We cut and paste pieces from other documents and sources, and then rewrite it into our own writing style. Well, AI does a really good job of taking that blank paper and putting it into a decent draft. We're really trying to get about 60 to 80% of our work done, so we can focus on our expertise, and do that last 60 to 100%. The second thing I think it does really well is it simplifies knowledge access. Anyone who's used ChatGPT, you can ask a question about anything, and it might not be 100% right. You have to do your due diligence, but it is incredibly good at knowledge access. It connects a user to a vast amount of data, and you can ask messy questions. Back in the day, when we didn't know what to ask, we wouldn't get a good answer. And so with AI is really, really good at taking a messy response and taking a data set and giving you a clean response. Sorry, messy answer and a clean response. So I think it simplifies knowledge access. It doesn't only simplify knowledge access to public data. There are ways you connect your data, your organizational data, and have the AI pull information from that. So that's one of the tools that we'll be talking about today. And then the other one, and I think this is where AI is going in the future, is AI is incredibly good at coding. So any coders in here? Good, yeah. It's incredibly good at coding, but if you're not a coder, this applies to you too, because AI is going to be good enough that you'll tell it to do something, say, tell your computer to do something, you won't ever see the code being written. AI will write the code and then try it, and then if it didn't work, it'll try it again with error messages. ChatGPT is already doing that. When you ask ChatGPT to write a plot for you, so you say, hey, here's my spreadsheet, I want you to write a bar plot with green lines and call it parenthesis plot today. It doesn't use AI to just write the plot. It actually uses AI to code Python and then writes the plot and then sends it to you. So we're already doing this with AI, and it's going to get a lot better. I think you're going to be able to tell your computer, hey, for the next 8 hours, I want you to look at data sources and comb through my email, and I want you to basically, give me a deliverable that would take a human 8 hours to do. So I think that's where it's all going. Sorry, I'm getting excited about this stuff. Okay, so if you don't know anything about AI, it's actually a fairly simple concept. It's technology that helps computers think and act like humans, but that doesn't mean anything, right? How does it work? Put simply, it uses math, uses statistics to predict the next word in a series of words. So here's a simple example. The sky is blue. Yeah. So you're right. Yeah, it could be something else. AI is not perfect. You said here is the algorithm. So AI just predicts the next word in a series of words, and that's why you see when you ask AI something. That's why you see it scrolling. It actually doesn't do that just to look cool. It's actually predicting the next token or the next word in that series as it's doing it. So that's why it's iteratively building your answer. All right, so we're going to talk first about AI best practices. So a lot of you guys know some of these, maybe you know all of them, but I thought I'd real quickly go over these because people have found value in this. The first one is learn to talk to AI. We'll go over each one of these with a different way. So learn to talk like AI. It's like a coworker. Second, provide effective background knowledge. We'll come back to this slide. So learn to talk like AI. It's like a coworker. You can ask it anything. You can ask AI anything, and you can even ask it questions where you haven't really thought out your full question. And you can ask for it and then give it iteration. So an example would be, write an executive summary for this proposal. Write 4 to 6 paragraphs in engaging but professional tone. So it gives you something. And then you can say, that was good, but I need you to more clearly explain the scope of work. So working with AI is an iterative process. You coders know that, try this, didn't work, got this, So it's an iterative process. It's okay to start with something and build off of it. It's like strategizing with a coworker. This is a big one. Provide effective background knowledge. So when you're asking normal AI tools, they're trained on a set of public data. They don't know you, typically. You really do need to provide effective background knowledge. And you can add a lot of information to those prompts. So here's an example of trying to write an executive summary. We are the Poudre River Environmental Program located in Fort Collins, Colorado. You tell it where you're at. You tell it what you want to do. To map our water sampling sites. You know, tell it what you've already done. I've already completed initial site inventory. Now, and I use that word now a lot. I use that to basically take all that information, give the AI a point where it's like, okay, now I'm gonna answer a question. Now, please write an executive summary. Here's the RFP. So giving it background knowledge really gives you a better response. Ensure your answer accuracy. So you really need to review your answer for accuracy. We can get in a lot of trouble with this as professionals. It looks really good. You know, there's a lot of times, and normally it is good, and that's the problem. You know, so it's getting better and better, but, you know, 5 out of 100 responses are erroneous or more, depending on what you're using it for. And so if you just copy and paste that into your final document or your proposal, you're going to lose some proposals. You're going to lose things. So it's really important to review that. So I always say, hey, cross-reference this with a review or having someone else review. Protect data security. So this is important. We're gonna talk about this in this presentation. But if you know your organization's data policies, use secure data storage and access controls, and anonymize sensitive data. So you can use an AI that you're not paying for, that you know is going to be training other data. If you take your prompt and you scrub it, you get rid of sensitive information. So here's what we're going to talk about over the next few slides. AI systems or AI providers are hungry for data. That's how they're taking their AI large language models to the next level. And so they make it a little hard for you to protect your data. ChatGPT will use your data. I've got a couple slides on this, unless you change settings on it. DeepSeek will always use your data no matter what, unless you use the open source large language model on your computer. And then Sherlink, my tool won't ever, but go through these. So data security options. So I'm going to pick on ChatGPT, but they're all similar to this. Anthropic's a little bit better. They try to protect you more. But let's talk about ChatGPT. So ChatGPT free account. When I go into an organization and they're like, yeah, we don't really have a data policy, we're using ChatGPT free, that's a big red flag. That's a huge red flag, actually. And you know, if you're not using it for something sensitive, that's great. But if you've got a company of 5 or 100 people that have ChatGPT accounts, whatever they're posting into that can be used to train other models. That could be intellectual property for your business. That could be personal information. It is very dangerous to have no AI policy for your business and just be using ChatGPT.com. I use ChatGPT all the time. I have a pro account. It's $200 a month. But I've taken the work to turn off the data sharing connections to it. So it's really important that you know this, that free accounts, they're not secure. The only thing you can do with that is you can go to the AI privacy portal and apply for a privacy request. I've never done it. I don't think a lot of people do. So if you have a free account, there is a way to do that. You have to apply for it. Watch out for that one. So the next one is ChatGPT paid accounts. Those are much better, but their default is that they will use your data to train. You have a personal paid account, even the $200 a month one, the one I have. So you have to go in the upper right-hand corner there, go to your settings, and then you have to turn off improve model for everyone on that. So that's something important. Yes, sir.
Sorry, question. On the ChatGPT, if you create your own GPT as a project, is that also included in this data sharing?
So I actually tried to just do the ChatGPT GPTs, and when I was researching it 3 months ago, it was incredibly vague of who owned that data.
Oh, really?
So I was worried about it. So it was changing. The other thing that's interesting about ChatGPT is they are really motivated to do artificial general intelligence. And so if you look at their language, it does feel just a little squirrely. I don't know if anyone looked at that, but they really do need data to take it to the next level to build their models. So they're doing everything they can to get that. You have to be really protective about it. So yeah, go ahead.
Another question. Can you give us an example of how you would anonymize data?
Yeah,
There's a lot of room in that section.
yeah, I think what you could do, you know, if you have a spreadsheet with information that contains, social security numbers,
Well, any PII, you could just keep out, right?
you would either change it or just put it all to a anonymous name. You know, change names to John Doe, put all randomize the
What
number.
about IP addresses, dot drawings, network drawings, things like that?
Yeah, I probably would put those, you know, close to it if you have an image that you're uploading. All right, third option. Now we're starting to get fairly into the world of safe. So option 3, ChatGPT, Team, Enterprise, and API accounts are not used to train by default. You still have to worry a little bit about what AI is kind of doing behind the scenes, a little bit, but at least they're SOC 2 compliant, and so that is a way to do it. A lot of the tools we use, like Microsoft 365, and a lot of the apps that we build, the SureLink web app is like this. We all use these large language providers. We all use the API connections. And so any web app or any app that goes on the internet, cloud-enabled app, will be using an API. You just need to make sure that they're secure. Chase Carlson, he's actually in the crowd, has been helping me with Phoenix Cyber, and he's been helping me make sure that all of those connections are secure. So shout out to him, Small Business Center. Okay, so that's option 3. There is a fourth option, and I'm glad you guys are here for this, because this is where I think AI is going to go as well. This is an area that I think is going to really excel. So you've got everything right now is cloud-based. All the large language models are cloud-based. That's how people are really using them. But what happens is, when you ask a question, your question goes to a server when you ask it, and then that's hosting a website of some sort. It could be SureLink, could be ChatGPT, could be Anthropic, could be whatever. And then that server says, oh, I need to answer a question with AI. I'm going to send that over to a large language model processing data center. That information goes back to your server. So it's bouncing around the world, really. Your data is bouncing around out there. It introduces a lot of degrees of uncertainty. There are ways to do device-contained AI. Has anybody been on the plane not connected to the internet running AI? Yep, using an open source model like Llama, or there's a lot of them, DeepSeek. There's a new one out called Gemma 3, and it's, I'll show you, but it's able to, you're able to process images on a normal computer with an open source model, which is pretty insane. So there are some serious benefits to doing on-device AI. One is it runs fully offline. Another huge one is file access. When you're dealing with a large language model through an API, you have to upload and download your files every time. So if you're going to say, all right, ChatGPT, I need you for these 1,000 files, I need you to make them transparent. There's a lot of time it takes spinning that up, a lot of computing costs, a lot of energy. If it's on your device, it's just happening right here. There's no upload and download time. So file access is really cool. The third one, yes, sir?
Another question, the device contained, is this also called the agentic agent?
No, that's a slightly different term. And we can get into, well, actually, you led me to the next point.
Okay.
The next one is operating system access. So if you have a device-contained AI, you can have that AI generate code that runs on your computer, and you can basically say, all right, I want you to move the mouse and look at my screen and look at this information, and then send me an email after reviewing this proposal, scroll around. You can basically have agentic programs that act like an agent better with that. So the next one is minimal cost. So if you've got an on-device large language model, you're not paying for API costs, hosting, network security, all that. So you can run batch jobs with your company, and you can have 100,000 AI calls for private data, and there's really no cost. It's really the only way to do it. If you're going to go through hundreds of thousands of files, generate summaries, work with that amount of data, you really do need a local large language model to do that, because you'll be paying on every time. Another one that's kind of neat is no third-party reliance. your AI, those, if you're depending on OpenAI and they go out of business, or maybe they're down for an hour when you're trying to give a presentation, which I hope doesn't happen today. It almost did one time. It went down like an hour after a presentation for me once. But anyway, yeah, so no third-party reliance. You can also switch between the different large language models as they come out, or do a more advanced approach. And then the final one that I thought was really interesting, and I just learned about this today, is it's incredibly more efficient with energy and water savings. And the reason for that is your computer's already on. You have marginal computing power that you're not using. So, being a data center is way more efficient, for sure. But if you're already using your computer, it's actually, I think it's something like 4 times more energy efficient to use a large language model, and you're not using any water. So there's no water cooling savings. You're all air cooled with most of your devices. So there are huge benefits with that. The main hurdle with a local large language model, though, is you're limited to the open source LLMs. Open source LLMs are a lot, especially running on a normal computer. I mean, this is a 16 gigabyte RAM computer, and we'll run it on this today. You can't run these massive ChatGPT, they don't publish, but I think it's something like a 500 billion parameter model for their 4.0 model. We'll be running a 4 billion parameter model. So we're going from 500 to 4. You have to basically be better with your prompting, and you have to be smarter on how you integrate your algorithms to use them. Slow. Okay, so if you guys want to try this, we are actually nearing beta testing for our SureLink desktop. And so if you'd like, and this will be on a further slide, but if you email beta to info@surelink.ai, you can try out the desktop version before it comes out to everyone. Okay, so I think that's about it for the presentation, and I would like to go into some live demonstrations. Here's what we do. Oh, no, I apologize. There's another section. Robbie, how much time do we have?
Until 1.
I think we've got time. All right. Before I move on to how SureLink works, real quick, does anybody have any questions so far? I said 1 or 2. Yes, ma'am.
I noticed you were using the model to find the output. Do you ever prompt the model to find the prompt? That is, can you help me phrase this question?
Yeah, so most of what SureLink does is prompt enhancement, which is a really good thing to do. What you're requesting. So the AI model itself is not retraining a large language model, but what happens on the front end is it adds context and clarification to the prompt. So yeah, that's a lot of what we do is prompt engineering, and hopefully doing it all behind the scenes. One more? Yes, sir.
So the localized model of that, I guess the question that I have is, are all the variables that it's using, is the assumption that all those variables are on that local machine to be able to create that output? Yeah, I guess that's the big question, right? Is that a pro or con, I guess, versus the network model?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it blows my mind too. So what you do is you download maybe a 5 gigabyte or a 2 to 5 gigabyte file for a smaller large language model. And then that has the entire knowledge of the internet somehow on your computer, which is completely insane. But what happens is, because it's a smaller version of that, it sometimes messes up worse. It can hallucinate more. It's not as powerful or robust of a model, but it has the entire trade internet on it, which is insane. There's got to be some way for somebody to make money on that. All right, let me go over just what we're trying to accomplish with SureLink AI really quick. So basically, we all lack information access. You were in a meeting, somebody asked you a decision, and you don't sometimes have information access. Maybe you're working at your computer, and somebody calls and say, hey, when was the last time we met with that group, and what did we say? They're coming in today. Like, oh, I better check with Bob or whoever else. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to cross that knowledge gap. We're trying to basically integrate AI with your knowledge set. We're trying to connect decision makers with knowledge sets using AI. You know, your organizational knowledge can be all over the board. It could be in paper, could be on a server, could be in people's heads. Journaling AI is trying to make a platform where you're able to connect easy to that information. So you could say something like, give me a history of the Ballot Foundation. And what we do is we sync different knowledge repositories for a business. You basically point it to a folder or a set of folders on your computer or maybe a Google Drive, and you hit sync, and those knowledge repositories will turn on, and you can turn them off and on, so they're synced to your Shurlink account. So that's how it takes it to the next level. It's different than ChatGPT's because you can sync thousands of files, like tens of thousands of files. We're trying to get it to be hundreds of thousands of files. But that's a vast difference than the 20 uploads that you get with ChatGPT. The other thing we're doing is template writing. So write a standard operating procedure for problem build evaluation. This tribe has templates in their account, so job announcements, policies, resolutions, standard operating procedures. The AI will write them per their template, and what it does is it uses AI behind the scenes to write each one of those sections. Right now, it's a little bit of a manual process. We're trying to get it to be automated, to have a folder of templates in there. And what it does is it says, write like me. Here's a well-written introduction for standard operating procedure. Now I want you to write a standard operating procedure for water sampling or greeting someone at the door at Walmart. You know, basically, AI is able to take that information and use templates as an example and then write it based on your formatting.
How quickly could something like this be produced?
Yeah, we've got we're offering it.
Well, no,
for yourself.
Well, no, in an example like this, if you ask for an SOP, what's the
We'll do it today.
Oh, okay.
30 seconds.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, so, Shurlink AI, we've got a lot of advantages, but the biggest thing, well, not the biggest, but one of the different is our file types that we can integrate with. We can do all of Microsoft Suite, all the Google Suite, but also handwritten notes, images, audio, email databases, and videos. So you can integrate that as well. All right, that's it for the presentation, and then we'll write SOP or something, and you can talk. Any questions so far before the demo?
What's your strategy for getting him to
Batch file, so basically, when you sync this, if it is an image, it calls local language model AI to parse it, and to take that information, and then puts that into the knowledge repository.
I guess just, the actual mechanics of taking audio recordings, getting those audio recordings, getting them into your system, and then also taking those images of handwritten notes, being free to get in your system.
That's a good question. Right now, we've got people so we're doing beta testing right now. And we have people that are like, here is a file, here's a paper file of a lot of information I want to ask about. And so we just scan it in and run it through our sync algorithm. And, right now, there is manual parts of the process to get your data in there, and so that's one of our product lines is basically doing that for people, but I don't think we should. I think it'd be better for organizations just to do that. Probably be easier and faster and cheaper, so.
Some sort of OCR, right?
You don't actually need to, if you don't want to. So yeah, the Shurlink sync algorithm has a Python OCR algorithm, and if that fails, then it sends it through AI. Because you can't OCR certain things. It's too blurry, but then AI can do that. Or one time, I was trying to OCR something, and it had a logo behind it, and it was completely screwed up. So I just sent it through AI, and it gave me the text for that document.
Is there any way to control the scope of the response? Like I'm thinking a large organization maybe meets, you had an example, like when was the last time we met with this customer? Well, maybe 3 different groups across a large organization has multiple meetings with the same customer but different business units. So is there a way that somebody, when they ask it, it's about their department or about their business unit, or anything like that?
Yeah, I would probably turn on the knowledge repositories.
Oh.
And so, With the desktop version, what I envision is every single person has this on their computer, and then they can sync whatever they want to sync with, or you can share synced repositories if you want, but basically, you would basically sync with your.
The stuff I care about.
Exactly, yeah, so it'd be tuned to you, because it's your desktop version of this. Right now, we have it set up with user accounts with our web app. Should we do some examples?
Yeah.
See if it works, see if it opens. 1 second. All right, this is one for Lookout Mountain Water District. This is actually someone who's really using this, or at least they're beta testing it, early beta test right now. They've got 30 years of meeting minutes, board resolutions, policy rules, regulations, rate fees, and service plans. So we can ask anything we want about that. So let's ask that question over in the presentation. Sorry, I can't type. So right now, it's looking through 30 years of meeting resolutions. And what's interesting is the early ones weren't OCR. They synced it with that. And then we were at a board meeting the other day, and they were like, well, test it out, test on this. We have somebody who is worried about an agreement, and it actually found it from 30 years ago.
What was the question you typed in?
It said, tell me about the Bella Foundation. And so I knew this, this is something I work with these three guys. 4 years ago, they were working with this Bella Foundation. And then this basically gives a summary of it, and then you can actually click on any of these links, and it will pull up the board meetings associated with where the proprietary data was synced from. And this works really well on a desktop version, because right now, this has to be hosted for a website to get to it. It's a pain in the butt to access information on your desktop, but a desktop version can very easily integrate with that information. So that's one thing with SureLink. Behind the scenes, it enhances the prompt, like you were asking to enhance the prompt. It basically says provide links if possible, so it tries to pull that information so you can double check yourself. Let's do a SOP generation or a policy generation real quick.
Is it okay to turn off the lights or do your speed?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, that would be hard to see. Have you seen the presentation? Is that better?
Yeah.
Perfect. So this is an account that has templates on it, and it's that tribal account, that has those. So kind of standard operating procedure should we write? You want a policy, acceptable use policy, or? So when there's templates enabled, it basically doesn't give the thinking right now. It's not actually generating one response. It's like, oh, okay, this person wants me to generate a policy, and I have a template for a policy, therefore I'm going to basically use AI to write. It's doing 30 calls right now to AI to write each section. It's basically writing out that policy, and then it's going to provide a link to us. The desktop version is going to be generating like a Word document. Yes, ma'am.
When you say to AI, where is that AI running at this moment?
At this moment, this is a web version of that. Some people like it because it works on a phone. They can basically have their chat with us, and they can generate that, and they can be in a meeting and ask about their meeting anywhere.
So that would be quite specific in you're doing API calls, AI, which AI and where is it?
It is OpenAI's ChatGPT 4.0 model. I do not know where their data center is, and they probably changed it. So anyway, this ran, let's see if this pulls up correctly. Yeah, so it wrote this policy, technology use guidelines, and it's basically purpose of this company is policy. Is that okay?
No.
Any better? Okay. So basically, it writes each section of this, and it formats it based upon what our instructions are. And so you're able to write much larger, more complex documents if you use AI to do template writing, because you're actually calling AI 30 times on the scenes, or 100 times maybe, to write much larger things. So you can do that with proposals, reports, if you want, it's kind of a cool tool that you can.
So then the idea is you can go in and put specifics around this. If you can put your specifics to your specific client.
Yeah, well, you can say anything you want, you know, and so you can say, write a proposal for ABC Corp. They are based in Denver, here's the RFP, or whatever else. And your AI then can have 30 calls, with all that information, and write each section of your proposal in template writing. Yes, sir? Okay.
Does it remember what it wrote, so that now you can say, I looked at it, and I don't like this section,
This doesn't yet, but it will, yeah. You'll basically be like, you know, now use this as a template, right? So you could basically like give it iteratively, I generated that, and you'll be able to say, now modify it based upon this. Cool.
So for your template, I have a document like this where I have multiple sections, and each section I have essentially an AI prompt that I've dialed in. You're saying that the template contains all of that? Like I could just upload my existing template, which, because it already has like what I want it to pull from AI?
I think there'd just be a little bit of, integration with that. So right now, they basically say, hey, we are gonna be doing 100 or 1,000 policies. Here's an example of a well-written policy, sure like AI. And so we basically do the pre-prompting, where now they're able to really scale it well. If they're only gonna do 10 of them, it probably doesn't make sense at this time. Right now, that process is manual. It's basically putting in the scripting needed to generate that 100 times, right? So what we're doing right now, though, is we're actually using agentic AI, we're building agentic AI to say, okay, she wants to fill out this proposal, right? She wants, and in the code, things are in there. Now, generate the Python script needed to handle her request. And you can do with agentic AI, you don't need to pre-code all that. It's not a manual process, but the AI will generate the code, the Python code, whatever you're using, to edit your templates. And so that's where we're going with it. So you'll be able to put really any document in there, and then have agentic AI generate the code per your request. You say, hey, I don't like my margins, make them more professional, or I don't like, you can say anything you possibly want.
Okay, so sorry, the question, I'm speaking about the text that I want it to put into the field. Not you're talking about code, and I'm talking about text prompts, and I'm not.
I'm sorry, yeah, no, I want to look.
Because that's what generates, like, the pretty document-looking part?
What I was just gonna say is, you're basically trying to make it easy for it to fill out your template. You've already got the prompts in there, right?
Uh-huh.
And so, what I would do, if you gave that to me right now, is I would basically take the prompts that you have fine-tuned and generate Python functions to fill out your template every time.
To make it render in a beautiful way.
To generate the content, so that I would basically have the Python call AI to fill out to solve your prompts, and then the Python to render it in a beautiful way. So the Python would do both. In the future, you won't need to do that. In the future, very soon, we're working on, basically you say, hey, here's a document, it has prompts in it, fill all those prompts and give me the document back in the same formatting. Other questions? Got about 15 minutes left. Yes, sir.
You've done some really cool stuff, so in an ideal world, like you just received a lot of feedback on your products and things like that, how could you take this audio and remind you of all?
normally I just record the Zoom meetings, and then it actually auto syncs to my Sherlink account. So I'm using Xavier to just auto sync all recordings for all the meetings, so I can ask anything. So, yeah, the Momentum feed Sherlink account is all.
In a previous role, I was in HR, and HR had access to more files than general.
Right.
So if I was in my HR seat and I needed to put together a job, whatever they're called, everyone knows the same.
Yeah, no,
With the salary and all that.
should we make one?
Sure. Well, I'm
We'll do
wondering
one.
if like user access controls where just the HR folks have access to that, and not the company at large.
I think that's a really good, point, and so I think access is something we're figuring out in these beta trials. I think where we're gonna go is a desktop version, and so now, all access is taken care of. You won't even have a login for your desktop version. Your desktop version will basically just be all the access to anything on your computer. If you trust your computer, then you'll be able to trust Sherlink AI, because your computer's already handled all your IT. So Sherlink AI will run completely locally. So it's a great job announcement, and I'll show you the desktop version really quick if you'd like. But what, job announcement should be great?
Oh, let's do like a job offer where you give them a certain salary and starting date and all that. That's kind of what I had in mind.
I'm gonna try this, but they only have a job announcement
Oh,
available on
yeah.
their tablets,
Let's
if that's
try
okay.
that.
Sorry. I don't have the agentic AI working quite yet. You know what kind of job we wanna create, like a janitor, a programmer,
Software engineer.
Do you have to use the keyword like job announcement for to trigger the name and the template?
On this one you do,
Oh.
yeah, so when you look at your templates, you have to have that in your prompt for it to say, okay, I need to do a document, not just give a prompt. We're going to be changing that because what we'll do probably is have an AI call and say, is this a policy they're trying to write with the template? And the AI, the pre-call to the AI, then you won't have to use keywords, so the AI will be able to resolve that. All right, so generate something. All right, so software job engineer, department salary, so some of those are placeholders up in there. Oh, I can't see this, sorry. Software engineer will play a pivotal role in designing, developing, and maintaining innovative software. I just had to do this for my business, we're hiring people this summer, so. But yeah, supervision, roles and responsibilities, so it fills it out in the format for that. Qualifications, so basically it used a previously well-written version and then some pre-prompting to put all this stuff in there. Right. Now, I wish I could disconnect from internet for you, but if I did that, the Zoom would die, unfortunately. So anyway, this is the desktop version of it. When you click My Info and you want to sync something, basically you're able to select any folder on your desktop, or multiple folders. And when you select that, you hit Start. Well, I want to sync all those images. It takes a little bit, just a second. Get out of there. So what we're doing right now is we're syncing to a folder, and that'll be good because it'll change the knowledge repository. So I think the thing is something like, I don't know, 20 files in there or something like that. It has a database file, so like a random client.db file that it's syncing to, as well as other things. And so now it changed the knowledge repository, we have access to that. You can turn those off. off and on. And so right now, this thing runs that Gemma 3 model, and it's a little bit slow. What should we ask it? Just a random question. What's the fastest car? Or like boats, or whatever?
Fastest boat.
All right. Now I'm really pushing my luck because this thing's just being developed this week, so we'll see. But so this is running completely offline. It's an AI model that you can run on the moon if you have a power source, which is kind of cool. So anyway, it's running AI model. You can ask anything in the entire world. You can interact with your data locally, and so this is what we're trying to do with Sherlink. So anyway, I think that's probably it for what I've got. I know it's kind of annoying, but yes, sir.
So when you're searching for those, files on your local machine, I'm assuming too, you could search for any drives on your local network.
Right. Yeah, you can sync anything that you have access to your computer. Right now it's Windows, well, it's not, yeah, there's a Mac version as well, but right now it's anything accessible to your file system.
So you're relying on your permissions that you've already set up. That's really the reason why you're focusing in on the desktop.
That is correct, yeah, it is by far the most safe version. There is nothing going outside of this computer when we're asking these questions, or,
Well, not only safe, but it would get horrendously complicated if you had to deal with permissions across the vast spectrum of
right.
enterprise.
Let's have a look at images really quick, offline. All right, so, what should we put in here? Which image? We got plain, a graph, some handwritten notes. That seems like a big one. So say those, well, here, I'll get it going first, because it takes a second, because it's, running on a little computer. So.
And this is Gemma TV.
I'm gonna say, okay, so I just drag and drop the screenshot of some handwritten notes on here, and I said, tell me what these say. This is running Gemma 3, and it's a 4 billion parameter model. There's different versions of Gemma 3, but Gemma 3, you have to have the 4 billion and above to run image recognition. All right, I can keep moving my zoom thing, it's right in the way of stuff. I brought my Mac computer that has a much stronger processing, and it's immensely faster, but I thought I'd show you this, because this is probably what you need in order to run it locally. When you run a batch job with image generation on a normal computer, you'll have to just run it all night, because of both, it takes a long time to process each image, obviously. You guys see what it's ready? So I'll open the task list outlining priorities and progress of the project. So it took that and did its best to get the information to you. So it's close, not perfect, but it's pulling those handwritten notes.
This is 16 gigabytes.
The model itself, this version is 3 gigabytes on my computer.
3 gig.
Oh, the computer's processing power is 16 gigabyte RAM.
Yeah, it's reading that, so up to 16 gig.
Well, I think you can do it on an 8 gig. It's only using half, so.
No, I mean, the full 32 bit is 16 gigs inside.
Right. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming, and I'll do more examples, we're gonna have questions, but, yes, sir.
Does it ever ask you a question back and say, what do you mean, like, re-prompt you to say, like, you said, two different things in the same sentence, like a juxtaposition of some sort? Does it ever come back and say, which of these are you asking for, or is it?
It does, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And certain AI models is hard-coded in, and you can also pre-prompt and have it do that. I'll let you know something, we're actually making SureLink, choose the large language model based upon your question and your operating system. And so we're having dynamic open source large language model delivery. And so that's something that's more powerful with this version, because it's not all using that Gemma. If you say think deeply, it will use DeepSeek. Or basically it has a pre-prompt to an AI and say, what's the best model choice for this question and data set? Yes, sir.
So if you have the paid version of ChatGPT, like I've made SOPs and things before, what does SureLink do that ChatGPT can't?
That's a good question. ChatGPT is great, and the two differences, one is security, right? And so it's going out over APIs, and if you don't turn off your data sharing, you'll have issues with that. Another is it doesn't have access to all your organization files. But the big one, if you're talking about writing an SOP, is when you use ChatGPT to write an SOP, it will return text like this. And it's a little bit better formatted, right? So you have to copy and paste it. It also won't write an 8-page document for you. You basically have to say, hey, I'm writing an SOP. I want you to write the introduction section. Okay, that looks pretty good. I want you to write the list of the to-do list. Okay, that looks pretty good. Put it in there, you format it with your checklist. Now I want you to write, based on those, now I want you to write the executive summary. I was using ChatGPT to write SOPs, and then decided that it was much better to have all 30 prompts immediately fire at once and put it into my formatting. So when you put template writing with SureLink, you can write an SOP in 30 seconds, whereas it would take, even with ChatGPT, I don't know, an hour, or half an hour, something like that. So 30 seconds to 30 minutes is a big difference.
So it's like a convenience and security.
Convenience and security, and now it's access, yeah. Yes, sir.
For data sets that aren't in English, is there a translation process that these programs go through that are translated to English, or?
Yeah, the AI languages definitely they can do, they do language transition, for sure. Right now, SureLink is a little bit difficult, because if you put something in Spanish, there's a lot of pre-prompting that happens. Like, what's the best model? It returns it in Spanish, Gemma in Spanish, I don't know what. And so, they're complex with mine, but if you just use ChatGPT with 4 languages, it'll be fine. Or if you use the simple, with like no data access with that. Yes, sir?
What's the cost comparison to ChatGPT?
Well, SureLink web app was more, because we had to pay for hosting security, but the desktop app is going to be much, much, much less, like incredibly small, because ChatGPT has to pay for all their data centers, they have to pay for all their water, electricity, all that kind of thing. But SureLink desktop is going to be extremely cheap, because it all runs on your hardware, and it's distributed computing, and it's super secure, so it'll be much, much less. Yes, ma'am.
So question on that, what about computers, particularly Chromebooks? I've been on a Chromebook for 12 years or something.
Do they run like a Linux operating system? Or
I think it was basically cloud-based, it's like a mobile phone, like you can get apps for it.
It's got to have an operating system, and if it's Linux, then it's work on it.
Oh, language model running on Raspberry Pi, demonstration just recently, which is a little, yeah, and so like, your Chromebook is almost as powerful as a modern Raspberry Pi?
Good question. Keep them coming. Any other questions?
So if we talk about like the libraries that you think to, and then there was a question about being able to go to like a network drive. So say like 100 people in the organization have all said, use this network drive and the data on there. Is there a lot of like duplication of data then on their machines, or how's that part of it handled?
So what's interesting about SureLink is it actually doesn't copy and paste the files. The files stay where they're at. The only thing it creates is a JSON file and an index file of the text associated with your files. So when you click New Sync, it will extract the text and binarily encode it and put it in a folder that Sherwin can access. So if you did that and you said, hey guys, I've already saved, the S drive or whatever, you could basically just share that binary saved file. Everybody now has that thing synced. So because it has the file paths, it has everything on there already.
But then if new things show up, it resyncs and then you have to reshare, or something?
Right now it's a manual, you hit new sync,
Oh, okay.
so it doesn't have a automated yet. I think that will be under the settings as we roll this thing out and have auto sync. And once again, going back to cost, all of this cost is just on your computer, it's running anyway, right? And so we can offer this AI tool for a very, very low cost compared to, whatever else is out there, the $20 a month versions that are out there. The orders of magnitude more. It's nice. Other questions?
What if you asked it an opinion, like, what's better, blue or red?
Wanna try it?
Yeah.
So this is Gemma's take.
If it syncs with your files on your company, would it try to pull something, like somebody had a note in there that said, I love red?
It would, yeah, or our company logo is red, or whatever. It would, so it would know your contacts. You could also have settings that tell you a little bit about, you guys have probably done this with ChatGPT, where you tell me a little bit about myself, give me a writing style, something like that, and you can put that into your AI. You can give it some background prompts as well.
So kind of piggybacking onto that type of question, let's say you want to search for all of the proposals that anyone at your company has collected for a specific test method that was developed. What type of prompt would you want to use so that you could, I don't know, probably just get ideas, but then the final decision is up to you because you need to weigh cost versus time versus, business partnership.
How would you ask me if I was an intern and I came and you basically wanted that question done? You basically say, hey, the files are over here. I want you to basically look through everything that has a keyword of this or that does this in practice, something like that. And then maybe you say, that was good, look again, right, to me. You treat AI like an intern. And you would know that they're not gonna be perfect.
Right,
You would internally
right.
ask. And then you'd say, now give me the documents, give me the links.
I mean, maybe, is that the best that we can do right now, that you would be presented with, these are the options that have been used? Or could you get a little further in?
You could say
Analyze
dive in
it.
and look at those and evaluate which one was the best for this question or something like that.
Right, I mean, yeah, I'm sure best for cost, best for time,
Right.
but, weighing everything,
Yep.
that's probably
It's all
something
about
you would have
context.
to do, yeah.
It's all about
yeah.
context. If you basically give it access to a file and then you get asked questions about the context in that chat, then it'll get better results.
Mhm.
It's not perfect though, you gotta watch it. We're at one. One more question? Yes, sir.
So if we got a database of, like she was saying, information, and say we've got 10 categories, like, so we're in construction, we say, okay, this job was in this area, the amount was between this and this, it's X miles from where we are, it has this many manpower hours in it, it has this much material in it. And you combine those and give me the best combination of these things, probability-wise, right? So, which one of these, it correlates with the other one that produces the best outcome, I guess. Some idea.
Yeah, I really encourage you to use AI as creatively as possible, because you can do that. You can basically say, hey, I've got projects coming up this summer, rank these, rank this information, all these different things, and rank it from 1 to 10. You can tell AI all these prompts of what to do. And so make it good for you and do a lot of prompting and be creative. So, with that, I'm gonna close it up. I appreciate it. I'm available.